look, man, I would vote for Trump if for no other reason than Musk himself has already agreed to head something like a Department of Governmental Efficiency in the U.S. It's like, okay, enough said.
When you're comparing Donald Trump with Kamala Harris, you're really comparing a proven track record with Donald Trump, where you're going to have economic prosperity, a closed border, and world peace, versus Kamala Harris, who will basically be for big government, open borders, and endless wars. Now, even though she says she's not for all that, we all know what Democrats do, right? They go left so they can get their nomination, and then they go center so they can win elections. But of course, their heart, just like Joe Biden, is always with the left, and that's how they end up governing. So of course, there's many reasons to vote for Donald Trump. We just have to get the message out there so people can understand the differences between these two candidates. And of course, Jordan Peterson is going to point this out very succinctly on Piers Morgan. Let's check it out. But before we get to the video, please like and comment so we can break through the algorithms. Here we go.
Just talking of psychoanalyzing people, you've got two complete polar opposites now running for president of the United States. If you were psychoanalyzing Trump and Kamala Harris, what would you conclude right now based on everything you've seen and heard?
Well, if I could vote in the American election, I would vote for Trump. And I don't trust Harris. Now, do I trust Trump? Well, he was president for 4 years. Like, look, the best predictor of someone's future behavior is their past behavior. If you're trying to hire someone and you have documented history of their efforts in precisely the domain that you're attempting to hire for, and the evidence is clear and valid, you use that in favor of all other predictive, what would you say, predictive markers. So I think it's more appropriate for me as a clinician who knows the psychometric literature to point out that independent of Trump's personality, which tends, by the way, to be a relatively weak predictor of behavior, it's intelligence that's the best predictor, and then personality. We have a documented track record. Okay, so what do we know about Trump? Well, as far as I'm concerned, we know this: decent economic performance, markedly stable international situation, no wars, plus, and that's something, no wars. Plus, he established the Abraham Accords, and they've held even after October 7th, and everybody in the State Department told the Trump administration that putting that agreement together was impossible. Now, of course, it's the Abraham Accords that have infuriated and frustrated the bad actors in Iran, and that's pretty much the entire political class there, and fomented October 7th and produced this catastrophe that's unfolding. But putting that at the feet of Donald Trump is a very ill-advised thing to do. So I would say, with regards to Trump, well, we know what a Trump presidency would be like.
So this is something that every single person with a functional brain has to mention. Yes, Trump has already been president, so you know exactly how he's going to act. But the media, oh, he's going to be a dictator on day one. It'll be a bloodbath. He's going to put you all back in chains. I mean, that's basically what they are saying. But Trump never did anything closely resembling that. And as a matter of fact, he was a huge actor on the world stage, promoting world peace, in this case, through strength. And he even got the Abraham Accords passed through, something that nobody thought could ever happen. Bill Clinton gave it a shot all the way back in the 90s, did not turn out so well. So all of these crazy attacks against Trump about what he's going to do, no, you just look backwards at past behavior, because that's going to be the best representation of future behavior, just as Jordan Peterson points out.
You might say, well, you know, that was round one and now it's round two and Trump is older. And although I think he's actually modified his behavior to some degree as a consequence of being beat up so thoroughly over the last 5 years. And although he's a bit defensive, he's also less blustery and more human, which I think is a big plus. But for me, the other thing that I've seen really switch that's really been positive for me is that Trump has pulled a lot of hyper powerful people together around him. Musk, Tulsi Gabbard, Vivek Ramaswamy, Robert F. Kennedy, most of whom would have been Democrats in anything approximating a sane and normal world. And so, you see, my sense is that somebody whose narcissistic impulses are out of control because Trump is a flamboyant and dominating character who likes the public light. So you think, well, does he tilt too far in the narcissistic direction? It's like, well, why would he share the spotlight with the rest of this crew? And the other thing that we should consider is that, look, man, I would vote for Trump if for no other reason than Musk himself has already agreed to head something like a Department of Governmental Efficiency in the U.S. It's like, okay, enough said. And then Kennedy is bringing the public health crisis into the political realm. And both those two things are revolutionary.
I would also say
Ramaswamy seems to be... Go ahead.
Ramaswamy is a very smart guy as well. I completely agree with you.
Another excellent point brought up there, because who is actually out showing support for Kamala Harris? It's all of the millionaire class, right? You have Oprah Winfrey, Julia Roberts, Ben Stiller, Meryl Streep, Taylor Swift, people who are so wealthy and out of touch with reality, they wouldn't know a common man, a common problem, if it spat on their face, okay? But Donald Trump, these other people, yes, they are politically powerful and wealthy as well, but you know exactly what they stand for, right? They're not just going for Kamala because she's a woman of color and a Democrat. They're going for Trump because they love his economic policy. They can work with him on fixing government. They can work with him on helping the health crisis in America, right? All of which are good things. But of course, we're not going to hear about any of that from the media.
Also, I think that Trump has shown with these assassination attempts something very surprising that I suspect a lot of people would not have expected, and that is genuine personal courage. I mean, the first time when he was actually shot, to insist on getting back up and to punch the air defiantly was a remarkable thing to do. But I thought what even more remarkably was a week later, he was back on stage at another rally with an even bigger crowd, like nothing had happened. I spoke to him that night and he was, very gung-ho. I'm just going to keep doing it. They're not going to stop me. That is personal moral courage. I don't think you ever know whether you have it until it happens. And then you saw again with this latest one, he was cracking jokes immediately afterwards, saying, well, I wish I could have finished my birdie putt. The reaction, I mean, it's a quality of Trump that we haven't really seen until you see it. And you're never quite sure how people will respond when there are genuine threats to kill them. And he's actually been shot and then nearly got killed again. And yet he's back out there continuing with the campaigning. So whatever you think of Trump, I do think on the personal courage aspect, he's shown a lot of it recently.
Yes, grace under pressure, but also you pointed to something else, is that he was up cracking jokes. Hitler wasn't well known for his sense of humor. And the thing about Trump, and you can't deny this, Trump is a funny bastard.
Right.
He's funny. He'll say daring things just because they're comical. He's really good at it. And even his Twitter usage, his X usage, Twitter, of course, because he's not really using the platform now, impulsive, entertaining, unbelievably cutting and funny in a stand-up comedian sort of manner. And, that just doesn't go well with the tyrannical personality, because tyrants aren't well known for being able to tolerate the court jester. Let's put it that way.
How many of us have actually forgotten about the Trump assassination attempt? It was amazing how quickly everyone just seemed to move on from it. This was a huge event. This was a game-changing event. As soon as that happened, everyone was saying, it's over. Trump has just won the election. Even Bill Maher was out there saying it's over. But then, of course, fast forward a couple of weeks, and you have the DNC with Kamala Harris as the fresh face, and then the whole assassination attempt gets swept under the rug. And as a result, the second attempt, what happened there? Nothing. It was like a byline on the second page of the editorials, right? It was nothing. People have forgotten how serious this is, but Trump, he keeps plugging away. He keeps doing what he's doing. And as Jordan Peterson points out, yeah, he really doesn't have that whole mentality of being a dictator, of being a despot, because, well, he's actually got a good sense of humor, right? He's actually self-deprecating. And that's exactly why people like him and relate to him, because he's a normal guy. He's not a polished politician, okay? And in light of all the events that have been going on for the last 3.5 years, I think some mean tweets would be wildly preferable to what's going on right now on the world stage.
Thing about Trump you got to think about too is, is he ambitious? Well, I don't think it's ambition that's driving his pursuit of this second term. I mean, first of all, Trump's an old man, and second of all, he's already president, and he's as famous as you can get.
Yeah.
And you might say, well, his ambition is so overweening that it's compelling him forward regardless. And I don't actually think so. I actually think that what happened was that Trump accidentally became president, shocked the hell out of him. And then he got some sense of exactly how unstable and corrupt the DC swamp had become. And he started to take the role seriously. And now I think he's taking it even more seriously. And that's part of why he's building this coalition. I think he made a dreadful mistake in the debate with Kamala Harris because, well, first of all, he didn't highlight the Biden laptop spectacle, which is like a bit of political maneuvering that outdoes any deviance that I've ever seen since the beginning of my political awareness, including everything that went around Richard Nixon, who was impeached for his much lesser sins. Trump has gathered these people around him, and he's ready to move forward. Now, he didn't make a case for that in the damn debate.
I thought he was
he
actually.
didn't say, look,
I thought he had a bad debate. Actually, I thought that she played him rather cleverly. She played to his narcissism. Let's call it, I think, what it is a bit about the crowd sizes, about all that kind of stuff. And rather than him laser-like focusing on her weakness, which is that after 4 years, the country clearly is not in a better place. That's why she couldn't answer that question. And skewering her on her actual paucity of policy knowledge. I mean, she doesn't seem to know what she would do if she ran the country. She sort of played into his hands of allowing himself to be goaded and getting into a bit of a street fight and then saying crazy stuff about cats and dogs and so on and so on.
So that's a pretty interesting insight that Donald Trump has basically calmed down. He won the first presidency completely by accident, and then he saw how corrupt the government was, and that completely changed him, okay? But of course, he's wealthy, he's popular, he's already got power, he doesn't need any more. However, the establishment has gone after him so hard that I think this is completely personal now. And plus, if he doesn't win, they're going to throw him in jail for the rest of his life as a warning to anybody else who tries to come in and shake up their control of this country, right? The deep state does not want him. However, there is, of course, a bit of truth that, yeah, he did not do as well as he should have at the debate. He should have really focused on the corruption that Kamala Harris has been a part of as far as her administration is concerned. And of course, as far as the Democrat Party is concerned, with the Steele dossier, the laptop, the in cahoots with big tech, etc. All that stuff he should have brought to the forefront and just bashed her with it every single chance he got. But of course, that's all in the past, and his numbers are still looking pretty good despite being recognized as not winning that debate necessarily.
Conversely, if you were looking at her right now, how do you psychoanalyze Kamala Harris?
Okay, well, let's give the devil his due to begin with. One of the marked things I have seen happening with the Democrats since this switch in leadership is their movement away from the radical left. And so I'd like to give them credit for that. I think, now, is it real? Well, maybe. Some of me doesn't care if it's real, even if it's performative, even if it's purely performative, it's long overdue and very welcome. And so you don't hear Kamala talking much about the climate crisis, which I'm perfectly happy about because I think that's an absolute load of anti-human rubbish in the main. And the more leftist types within the Democrat Party have been effectively sidelined, at least as this campaign has progressed. So, thumbs up on that regard. Having said that, on the principle that previous performance is the best indicator of future performance, Kamala's had her time in the White House. Now, you might say the vice presidency is a secondary role, but if you're the sort of person that would only allow the vice presidency to be a secondary role, then maybe you're not fit to be president. You don't have enough force of character. And we've already seen what a Biden administration looks like. And what I see the Biden administration look like, I mean, America is such an economic powerhouse that it's still trudging along, rampaging along like a bull in a china shop, like it always does. But foreign policy has been a complete bloody world-ending disaster under the Democrats. They haven't stood up to Iran, which is a pack of vipers without compare. And we have this terrible, brutal, and I think unnecessary war going on between Russia and Ukraine, which could spiral out of control at any moment and is highly likely to. And so that's on Harris and the Democrats, and that's a major issue. So, and then what we might say, well, what will we get under Kamala? And maybe it's the case that the move away from the radical left is real, although I'd need a lot more evidence before I would believe that. But the easiest thing to predict is another 4 years of the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you predict that? It's not like she's the only one calling the shots. And as you already pointed out, maybe we could have more confidence that she would be a transformative leader, pull the Democrats to the center. What would you say? Act in a stellar manner on the foreign policy front and put the economy in order. Well, we'd be a lot more convinced of that if she was 10 times more policy oriented than she appears to be.
I completely agree. Yeah.
Yeah. I've never seen a candidacy focused so much on image in my life in any country.
No,
you know,
and I think she's basically
joy,
she's bet the bank on three things. One, she's not Joe Biden, which is a clear win for her. She's not. Secondly, she wants to avoid any substantive policy talk and shift everything to how awful Trump is, because that's an easier way for her to win, as she displayed quite skillfully at the debate. And thirdly, she wants to divorce herself from any accountability for what has happened under the administration in which she served as vice president.
So the whole Kamala Harris thing is actually really infuriating because, yeah, she's running as a centrist, despite in her past being a huge leftist, a huge Marxist, and of course, currently being part of this administration, a huge failure. There is nothing they can tout as say, hey, elect me because of this that I did. No, they have to run away from all of that stuff. But as much as they might want to say, oh, the economy's doing great or the stock market's up. Yeah, ask your average American how they're doing in their daily lives. It's just not there. And as Piers Morgan points out, this would be a huge political win if she's actually able to pull this off. Because as Jordan Peterson said once again, right, past performance is a great indicator of future performance. What are you going to do? And everything in her past screams leftist, screams failure, and at the very, very best, screams more of the same, which is not what the American people want. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and stay safe out there, people, because they're coming after you.